Good day. Welcome back to Cheryl's Kitchen. Before we begin, my topics may be graphic, so listener and viewer caution is advised. I've chosen Niet Soviet as a topic for this episode. Russia has just invaded the Ukraine, so it's a hot topic right now. I may be a bit behind the times, so I apologize in advance for any inaccuracies that you may pick up on. So Russia itself is located in Eastern Europe and Asia. It's the biggest country in the world. It's twice the size of Canada. So that gives you an idea on how big it really is. It has a population of about 146 million. It's produced some of the most brilliant scientists, chess masters, hockey players like Vladislav Tretiak and Alexander the Great, Ovechkin, but also some of the world's most brutal dictators, including Stalin and Lenin. So here's a brief history. Russia has a long but very dark history. It's been ruled by czars and dictators pretty much for its entire existence. The czars ruled it until 1917. Then it was the communists till 1990 or so. The Russians did kind of experiment with democracy, but is now ruled by a czar in everything but name only. Russia has virtually zero experience with true democracy. We know ourselves democracy can be unstable, and who governs depends on how persuasive the candidates are. Democracy is the worst form of government, except for all the others, or so said Winston Churchill. So let's talk about the Ukraine. Why would Russia, really Putin, want to invade the Ukraine? What's his motivation? Well, for that, we have to turn back to history. Prior to 1990, Russia was the senior partner of the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, the USSR. There were a number of republics, but in reality, they were ruled by Moscow. Of course, those that ruled were assisted by compliant local dictators in the various Soviet socialist republics, and the Ukraine was a socialist republic under the USSR. Lenin, Stalin, and Khrushchev called the shots in their reigns. Of course, they were assisted by people like Beria of the NKVD, which later morphed into the KGB, and Mikhail Red Mike Suslov, the party theoretician. He was kind of like the Pope of communism. In the Brezhnev era, he was the Secretary General of the Communist Party of the Soviet Union and de facto leader. But in effect, the country, or the USSR, was ruled by a troika, three people. Brezhnev, the defense minister, and the director of the KGB. The USSR was a superpower. Its influence was felt worldwide. The sheer quantity of military might displayed by the Red Army is unbelievable. Quantity has a quality all its own, or so said Stalin. While their equipment may not have been as tacky as ours, laser rangefinders and the like, they definitely had lots of it. So let's go back to the Ukraine. So Russia invades with 150 to 190,000 troops, and that's a lot, but it pales in comparison to the old Red Army. Now, if the Russian army is following the old Soviet doctrine, then airborne and air assault troops would fly in several hours ahead of the main body to secure such targets as airheads, rail yards. As I was saying, if the Russian army is following its doctrine of the old Soviet doctrine, airborne troops Air assault troops will fly in ahead and seize major infrastructure, airheads, rail yards, strategic bridges. These are all required for follow-on forces to accomplish their mission in a timely fashion. Those troops would hold those areas until they were relieved by forces of the main body. So when an old Red Army division rolled, you could expect overwhelming artillery and rocket fire on defensive positions prior to the armored and infantry troops attacking. I would expect it's not that much different today. The amount of fire an old Soviet division could bring to bear was incredible. So what about the Ukraine? Why attack it? Well, the Ukraine has a plethora of natural resources, including farmland, iron ore, and things like that. So here's my opinion, for what it's worth, this is just a large armed robbery by the Russia perpetuated against the Ukraine, because Russia needs the resources, the Ukraine has them, and in my world, 2 and 2 equals 4. So will the free world, NATO, come to the rescue? To answer that, I have no idea. Russia is not an existential threat to North America at this time. Russia does have nukes. However, so does the US. So does the UK. So does France. Russia can be seen as Russia is a threat to the Ukraine, Poland, and Germany. All three have a history, and not a good history, with Russia. Consider the personalities as well. Consider who governs the USA, UK, Canada, Germany, France, and other European countries in NATO. Does this collective body have the courage to declare war on Russia? Consider the fact that Ukraine is not part of NATO, and therefore NATO might not intervene. Other than thoughts and prayers on social media, there may not be much the West can do, or even want to do. So in conclusion, honestly, I don't know for sure what Putin's endgame is. I can't read his mind, and neither can the CIA. He has a goal, and only he knows what it really is. So why have I named my productions Shirl's Kitchen? Well, to answer that, I sit at the kitchen counter, and that is where I write the episodes and do my research. I produce the shows downstairs in the basement because it's peaceful, and I enjoy doing this. So that's it for today. If you like this, leave a note. If you don't, leave a note. Any suggestions you have are welcome. That's it. Let's be careful out there.